Sitting onto your sit bones, we're going to tilt the hips back and bring our chin to our chest, creating a lovely C curve through the spine. The hands are there under the thighs to take some of that weight. And then we're going to return up, sitting tall onto your sit bones, looking up to the ceiling to create a little arch through the spine, through the upper back, and lengthening through the front of the neck. Continue to repeat this with a softness through the spine and an aim to increase the C curve and the flexibility through the spine. Reach the chin to the ceiling to stretch through the front of the neck again. And an alternative is to sit cross-legged. Sitting cross-legged, you're more inclined to be able to take a little bit more body weight through the knees and the thighs. Watch as they lift and take the load. Take a moment to enjoy the stretch, not only just through the spine, but through the back of your shoulders. But here we'll find a bigger increase in the extension of our upper back, an arching of the spine, an increase to the stretch through the front of our neck. And continue to go back and forward, working on the version that suits you best. As you bring yourself up, draw the shoulder blades down to the back of the hips, press into the front of the knees when sitting cross-legged. You're sitting with the bent knee, just pull the hands out from underneath and pull your shoulders down. Let's get into giving our glutes a little bit of release. So I'm going to start off with a glute stretch designed to target the piriformis muscle. You can choose to use your arm through the thigh or wrap your arm around, and as you do, lifting the thigh up towards the opposite shoulder, feeling the glute or the bottom come off the mat, pulling in towards the chest and the shoulder and giving it the time it needs to release. Rotate and add a nice little rotation through your spine, but also feel as you pull up that knee that you're almost resisting that pull with the tailbone. So as you pull up to the chest, feel like you pull it back down through the hip and the glute area. A push and a pull action. Now we're going to look to increase the range through the upper spine, the upper back, in what we call thoracic rotation. This is a very simple move that suits most people. If you need to, roll up a towel to put under your knees. Create the salute. We're going to use the elbow to lead the way. The eyes to look to the elbow will increase the range that you get. Your aim is to achieve 180 degrees if you can, or work on improving the range you have when rotating through the upper body. When you are stiff through your upper back and it has no movement, other areas will compensate, such as the shoulders, the neck, the lower back, and I would highly recommend doing this very often, aiming to get movement through the middle to the upper back. And aim to increase the range. Press through the elbow upwards. Now we're going to get into what we call lateral flexion of the spine, and simply to take the spine to the side, opening up through the space between the ribs and your hip area, but through the spine itself in general. Reach up to the ceiling first before you then take it across the body. The gentle support with the other hand on the mat. You can do this with knees bent, or you can do this with cross-legged. With the cross-legged version, you're less inclined to lift the hips up, and it becomes an anchor point. So feel like you try to press the sit bones back into the mat and breathe. Let's now get into a little more rotation, taking the hands behind the head, widen the elbows, grow tall, breathe in and then twist and bounce twice, returning to the center, grow tall, breathe in again and breathe out as you rotate through the movement. You can add a straight arm and choose the sitting position that works best for you. By now we've worked through most aspects of the spine. Let's get into our strength component now in what we call vacuums. You won't see a lot in this position, but I want you to look at the lower belly area as we draw it in towards the spine. When you draw it in towards the spine, just watch that the lower back does not lift up. Notice the book on the back of the hips. We are trying to keep that in our neutral spinal position while we draw the abdominals in towards the front of the spine and hold. Continue to breathe as you hollow in the abdominals for about 10 seconds and then release. Let the tummy fall and feel very relaxed. This is a great way to activate the abdominals for the first time and very safe and effective. Try not to hold your breath as you do the move. And then we'll aim to progress from this move and add an arm and leg challenge. You're going to take the load through one shoulder as you lift the other arm up. Change the weight to the other shoulder and lift the other arm up. And maintain a vacuum seal through the abdominal wall to keep the torso nice and stable and limit the movement through your center. The shoulders will work hard, so be sure to keep those shoulders down away from the ears. Slide the shoulder blades back to the hips. And now bring it in, sit back towards your heels and give yourself a little rest here, stretching the hands forward. Your hands could be side on, your palms could be face down into the mat. Do some deep breathing as you try to feel and relax through the stretch. And now we add the leg. Feel like that you slide the foot across the mat to begin with control. And feel the hollowing of the abdominal wall, the shoulder muscles working to keep yourself centered and balanced. The pelvic floor connecting. And your aim is to maintain stability through the hips, through your center, through the torso. And maintain control. It takes thought, and it's a move that can't be rushed. You need to find the strength through your shoulders, through the deep abdominal muscles, the transverse abdominis, but also through the back of the thigh and the glute as the leg gets height. Adding the arm there is really going to challenge through your center. And be sure to breathe out as you go into your move and breathe in as you return back in. Feel how the spinal muscles work to stabilize. And this is why it's one of the great exercises to practice. And now we're going to get into our glutes. Lying on your back now with knees bent. I want you to press through the heels to elevate the hips. And at this point where your shoulder, your hip, your knees are in a straight line, we're going to hold. Feel a gentle connection at the heels in the floor to get those glutes activated. And then you're going to rest. Think of leading the move with the pubic bone area and add a little challenge by bringing the hands up off the mat to float. Leading with the pubic bone, find that straight line and just watch that the rib cage does not poke up where it arches your back or pokes up to the ceiling. Close the gap between the ribs. Maintain the abdominal connection as you work through your bridges. And be sure that the knees point straight ahead. Try to get an even tracking through the body, good alignment, watching the rib flare. And take that moment to let those glutes hold and be challenged. The bridge is not only a glute exercise, but an abdominal exercise as well. And it's worth taking the time and being patient to let those glutes be woken up. And add a further challenge by bringing your arms up to the ceiling if you want. Quite often, as I said, when the back is in pain, other muscles take over or other muscles start working. Let's move now to a little bit of a challenging one, the side plank. With this side plank, be sure to have the elbow under the shoulder, lift up through the ribs and through the hips as well. Your head should be in nice alignment there with the spine. And on this move, we're going to lower the hips down a little so that as we bring them up, I want you to feel your waistline connect. The obliques, the muscles just above the hip, but also the glute that is underneath. Feel how they work together to keep your spine straight and offer some stability through the sides of the body. If you find this is too hard, you could simply hold the plank and you could aim for 30 seconds. Now we get into a little bit more of our glute work through glute med. When you lie on your side, use the abdominals and maintain good hip alignment, creating a space under the waist, having your knees sit one on top of each other, and feel like the glute is what's lifting the leg up. Placing the hand on the hip there is a great way to see whether or not you can wake the glute muscle up to drive the move up. Feel like you have a cup of coffee on the side of your hip here and try not to spill it as you move that leg up and down. Check in that the knees are stacked one on top of each other. And by now you should definitely feel the muscles working through the side of your hip. Let's now turn over to the other side and repeat our side plank series. Knees stacked, your feet should be in line with the heels. And let's feel this waistline area now as we lower down and up. Keep the lovely head alignment, but if you do get a little tired through the neck, just look down. And again, maintain the heels in line with your sits bones or the glutes for a lovely move. Try not to collapse through the shoulder as well. And now let's try our glute work on the other side. Stack the knees one on top of each other. Find the space under your lower waist. Find the abdominals to keep yourself centered and stable. And keep the hip as still as you can. Try not to let it lift up and down. Again, create that space under the waist for good tracking and good spinal alignment as you move that leg up and down. Be sure to breathe, breathing out as you lift the limb and breathing in as you come back down. Another important aspect to pelvic stability is the inner thighs. You can grab a cushion and you can use that to squeeze the knees together in an upright seated position to begin with. Squeezing that cushion. Try to drive the move from the top of the inner thighs, less so the knees just squeezing in and out. And advance now to a bridge. Lying on your back, again emphasizing the heels pushing into the mat, abdominals to keep the pelvis upright, and then squeeze. A great all-rounder using your glutes, the abdominals, your spinal muscles and your inner thighs for a balanced load that is being challenged through the inner thighs. Again, repeat, lifting up the hips, and you could challenge yourself by having your arms off the floor, less support with the hands being up in the air, a little more shakier. And feel those abdominals connect. Once done, we're now going to feel the back of our hips and maintain a neutral spine here. Starting nice and easy, you're going to slide the foot out and then bring it back in. And your main focus is identifying that transverse abdominis muscle. Take it up a level by floating the leg up and progressing to a single knee float or a toe tap. But notice as I have my hand underneath my spine and on my belly, that a sense of trying to maintain that neutral spine, so I'm not flattening the back, I'm not arching the back, and I'm using the abdominals, my spinal muscles, to control that. Be sure to breathe out as you lower the foot down and breathe in as you bring it back up. And just feel. For the beginner, you might feel a lot of movement through the back of the hips, so go at a pace that suits you. Be slow, or maybe you return to the sliding of the foot and work on the strength to achieve stability, and then progress to the single knee float. Change sides and repeat. Breathing out as you come down and breathing in as you come back in. Notice I'm trying to maintain the ribs, stay nice and stable, feeling that through the upper abdominal wall. being patient as you challenge through your centre. And then we're going to challenge ourselves a little more with some arm movement. With the arm movement, the ribs are likely to lift up off the mat as it goes behind our head. So we're going to start easy with the sliding of the foot, or you can progress to the knee float. Again, breathing out as you go into your move and breathing in as you come back in. Working harder to maintain the spinal alignment, the ribs, the pelvis and the back of the hips. Work at a pace that works well for you. And then change sides. Ensure the pelvic floor is on. And that you use the breath, using the muscles of the diaphragm. And this move is one that's quite simple but very effective in building up through your core strength, the deep core muscles. And there are many ways that you can progress through this move once we build up the strength. And now we're going to take our arms out to the side. By taking the arms out to the side, we're going to lead into our back stretch. Take the other knee across as you turn your head in the opposite direction. Be gentle in your approach and breathe. Take the time to enjoy and let things release, and watch as things release how the knee lowers itself to the ground. With every breath out, a softening of where it is that you feel tight. If you find this too intense, take both knees across. Maintain the turning of the head. And breathe it out as well. Change sides, and well done for taking the time. Take the one leg out straight, lift the other knee bent, and with the opposite hand take that across now. And again, breathe deeply. Be sure to turn the head as well to get some extra movement through the neck, but also that flows down to the spine. And continue to breathe deeply. Come out of that stretch, and let's loosen up the back by flattening the back into the mat, rolling the hips up, peeling that spine off the floor, and rolling back down. We're coming back to our side plank. Side plank is so important. So we've added another move where you can not only do the side plank, but work through the glutes at the same time. Everything is the same. You want to try to keep the hips fairly firm, using the side muscles and using your glutes. Try not to collapse through the shoulder now, as part of your second challenge. This can be tough, be careful. Well done for getting through that. We're going to come back and we're going to get back into our spinal release that we did at the start, and just notice what you're feeling. Has your range of movement increased? Do you feel looser? Do you feel freer? Congratulations and well done for getting through, taking some time towards a healthier spine, a healthier mind, and overall a healthier body. Have a lovely day and well done.